I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah.
All right. What's up, guys? Beautiful Thursday morning here in Arizona, sunny and beautiful. Welcome to the hashtag Sexy Business Status Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Payne, and the owner of State 48 Roofing and Sexy Business Status Coaching. I have a wonderful guest in here with me today. Those that are watching on Facebook right now, you can see us on the screen, the beautiful Dory Harrington. And if you can't see her because you're listening to this episode later on a walk or a jog or whatever, Dory, the COO of State 48 Roofing, is in the house.
Yes. Am I
Dory.
your first guest?
Oh, you're the first guest.
Yes.
Yes, this is my fourth episode. So got the episode and the podcast up and running, and I did the first three, the 30-day challenge that Coach Nikki T invited us to do. One of mine was to go live for 30 days. I'm like, well, I'm going to go live. I might as well make it a little bit longer than like a 2 or 3 or 5 minute live and turn it into like 15 or 20 minutes and then turn it into an episode. And then now I have literally 30 episodes of my podcast just like that.
Amazing.
So, you are physically, you're my first one.
Nice.
Congrats.
Nice. I am your work wife, so that's fitting.
That's fitting. Yep. Heidi's coming in next week. She's out on a field trip today, or she would be in here. And then we're going to have Diego in here. We're going to have CP3 in here and a ton of other guests. I already got 2 or 3 lined up within the next 30 days. So, Dory, I brought you on. Mm-hmm. I know this isn't your forte. This isn't your niche. It brings you out of your comfort zone like crazy.
A little bit.
But you're getting more comfortable with practice.
I am.
And me pushing you out of your comfort zone.
You don't give me a choice.
You do not have a choice. No, because okay. I want you to grow, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, Dory, what should we talk about? And she said, let's talk about communication in the workplace. And I want you guys to understand how important communication in the workplace is and the role that it takes and how it can really build or destroy your reputation. It can grow your business or put you out of business. Mm-hmm. And it can either create a toxic work environment or a thriving culture, which we have here at State 48 Roofing.
Yes.
Right? So
Absolutely.
Give me, what would be the number one reason why did you bring up communication in the workplace? What triggered your brain to say that?
Well, on our morning meetings, we meet every morning with our team. And it's been a topic of late because as we get busier and we're growing, we're scaling right now, mm-hmm. the communication starts dropping off a little bit. And I don't know, I feel that sometimes your employees will get complacent and they just go throughout their day doing their job and they're not taking into account the future mm-hmm. and mm-hmm. how that looks with communication. So when I say that about future, it means that in our CRM on all of our jobs, we communicate in that with our customers and with each other. So if people are forgetting, if employees are forgetting to put notes in there mm-hmm. and kind of giving like a story of the job and what they've seen and what they've done, when it comes back around, or if it comes back around, like we had one today,
yep.
It's imperative that all those notes are in there so we can know the whole story mm-hmm. of that job. So it's been kind of a topic of late, and I thought it was a good one to talk about.
I love it. So let's talk about just the different types of communication in general in a business. You have your stereotypical OG phone call. Pick
mm-hmm.
up the phone, talk to somebody.
Pick up the damn phone.
Pick up the damn phone, as Uncle G, Grant Cardone says. Pick up the damn phone. So phone call, text message, mm-hmm. right? Whether it's a one-on-one or a group.
Yep.
That could be within your team or to a client, to a supplier, to whoever it may be. You have the good old email, right?
Yep.
That does function and work for accountability purposes and documentation, which is good.
Absolutely.
A CRM.
CRM.
Right? Customer relationship management. How's it called? I don't know.
Sure.
CRM.
Sounds good.
Manages all your shit.
Yeah.
I think customer relation management. Anyways, I think that's what it's called. But a CRM, basically a software that keeps all your shit together and keeps everything organized. A robot or a computer that keeps it all organized.
Right.
You have video.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It could be Loom. It could be FaceTime. It could be a podcast. It could be Zoom. I said right. Loom first and then Zoom. BombBomb. Right. You can do BombBombs. So there's different forms of video there. handwritten notes, like manually writing down, not recommended,
Right.
obviously, but you can, write stuff down, take notes.
Right.
So there's a ton of different ways to communicate with face to face.
Right.
Hello, good old handshake, face to face.
Right.
Talking with somebody, bringing them in, and having a conversation with them. And I want to know, in my opinion, I have the three-way communication rule at State 48,
Yes.
and the reason why is because not all people communicate the same way.
That's correct.
Right? For example, I am not behind a computer at all. I am several times a day, but only for like 5 or 10 minutes. Like right now, hopping on a podcast or checking my emails in the morning or late at night, doing some social media stuff or whatever. But like sitting in front of a computer, in front of my email, in front of my CRM, in front of, somewhere I can like quickly access something.
Yeah.
I don't communicate that way
Right.
compared to you, where like if you're not behind your computer, like that's your baby. That's where you make money.
That's where I
That's where you thrive.
I thrive.
Yeah. And so having 75 employees, I mean, half of those employees don't even have a computer.
Right.
So if you're like, oh, well, go check your email, they're like, well, email's on your phone. We understand that, right? But that's the power of having email on your phone or a CRM on your phone, and understanding you can text people from your computer that goes to their phone.
Right.
So we have field superintendents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those that are listening, if you have your skilled labor guys in the field, you might have superintendents in the field, you might have production managers in the field, your sales reps. Depending on what trade you're in, most of them are not sitting at a computer.
Mm-hmm.
They're running around, driving around all day.
Right.
And so they might be able to check stuff in the morning, but not at night. And so you have to learn how to communicate with people.
Right. It can be really tricky because you have so many different forms of communication within a company based on the particular job structure of each of your divisions. Like you're saying, our sales guys are in the field, our production guys in the field, office staff, of course, is at a computer. It's a lot easier for us to communicate, right? Through computer, through emails, text,
Sure.
everything's easier. Being on a roof, not as easy. So you have to get to know how your company works and the structure. So here at State 48 Roofing, we know that text message is primarily how our sales guys and our production crew are going to communicate with us.
Well, and why?
It's easier for them.
What's
It's
the first?
faster.
What's the first thing? Studies have shown the very first two things you do on your phone are social media and text messages.
Right.
Email is not the first thing. Like, oh, let me go through my emails. It's just
Right.
not. Right? They'll go on social media because it's mind numbing and it just kind of gets them going and looking at fun cat videos and excited stuff to get them going. And it's not work related, so you're not jumping immediately into work. But text messages, some people some people will let emails go for days or weeks or months, and they'll have, like me, they'll have 10,000 unread emails because
Right.
half of them are spam, right? Or more, almost all of them are spam. But text messages, I check my messages, on the hour,
Right.
right? Even after this, right now my phone's on airplane mode or do not disturb. As soon as we're done, I'm going to turn my phone on. I'm going to check my missed calls. And I'm going to check my text messages.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to check my emails. I'm not going to check the CRM, right? And so that's why it's very important that however you communicate is very critical. But I'm not a fan of the phone call unless it's recorded. So like a Zoom, because if you have a phone call conversation, only two people can learn from that and know the data, know the history, know the plan, know the game plan, right? Know the action plan, and what we need to do to implement it to fix X or Y or Z, or implement or start or talk to whoever. Only two people know that.
Right.
But when you put it on a text thread, the text thread never goes away. When you put it in an email, the email never goes away.
Right.
When you put it as a notification in the CRM, it never goes away. So documenting things, even if you do a video, that video stays in your camera roll forever until you distribute it elsewhere.
Right. And I say that if you do have the phone calls, because phone calls are essential part of business,
Totally.
to follow it up. I like to do the follow-up email or the follow-up text message.
So this is the power of three that I'm talking about.
Yes.
So Dory and I will have a phone call, and as soon as we're done, either she'll send me like a picture of her notes. We'll share our notes on our iPhone, the notes app. You'll send an email and you'll CC me on it.
Right.
You'll put something in the CRM or whatever the case may be, but basically you're documenting your phone calls conversation, not on the spot, because I'll be driving down the road.
Right.
But if she's behind the computer, I'll be like, hey, Dory, let's have a conversation, take some notes, and then we go and implement. So the three. So phone call, and then what do you do? What do you do normally with like you and I when we have a conversation?
Yeah.
Like we've had hour-long
I make
conversations.
notes the whole time we talk. I have a notebook by me. I just make notes. And then afterwards, I'll follow that up with a text message, kind of just going over what we talked about, or an email,
Right.
depending on what we're talking
So
about.
there's the third one because she's writing down the notes. Well, who has the notes? Unless I go to Dory's house to
Right.
go get the notes from her, I don't have those notes. So the first one is a phone call. Then she'll take notes, manually take notes, and then or she'll be documenting it into the CRM if it's
Right,
roof,
into
if
the
it's like
CRM.
if it's job specific.
Correct. Yes.
But then from there, like you said, you'll either compose an email or you'll send a text message because I don't have access to your notes.
Right.
And Dory knows that I communicate very, very well via text message.
Mm-hmm.
She checks my emails. Like she's literally because there's so many coming through. She can some of them are crisis, some of them aren't. Some are growth based. Some of them are even personal ones. And so you go through those. So if you're trying to send me an email, you're basically sending yourself an email.
Right. Yes. Basically. And then what I do is I go through the emails, and then anything of importance, I text him or call him about, hey,
Sure.
make sure you look at this email to get back to it. So I kind of keep him on task on that because he is out all day long. He's not sitting at a computer. So that's the way we communicate. That's the way we support each other. And
But do you see the three though? It went from a phone call to a notepad to take notes, and then implementation via text message.
Right.
Now let's just as an example for our listeners that have own a business and they're trying to communicate, whether they're in real estate or they're in roofing or some other trade, whatever the case may be. They need to communicate with other people. Other employees, maybe a field supervisor, maybe just a normal. Maybe just an assistant.
Right.
So what does that look like? So for example, you communicate with Diego and CP3, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
We
and
are
why
primarily phone call, and then we're text message. So phone calls if we need to hash something out or work through something, and then again follow it up with a text message to them, or I'll do a group email if it's something that really is a long-winded thing with lots of execution that needs to happen.
Sure.
I'll do an email that just keeps us on task, and then I can revert back to that when we need to.
Okay.
I kind of think about how our sales team communicates with our customers. So our sales team will go and
we're getting into sales. Everybody pay attention. Dakota right here. This is where you chop this, and we go. This is a sales clip right here. Go.
Yes. So our sales guys are on the roof. They're inspecting the roof, and while they're up there, they're doing videos or taking notes. They're getting everything lined out so they can give this proposal.
Let's back up. Let's go to even before they get in their truck for the day.
Yes,
let's
true.
go.
Let's start there.
Let's see how well Dory knows the sales process. She's not she's not directly in sales, but she knows the sales process. So literally from let's say Chandler Prince, one of our sales rep, gets in the truck to go to an appointment that's 30 minutes away. What's the very first thing that we do?
He is going to either call the customer or he is going to text the customer. And again, that is based on what we have in the CRM. Our ladies at the beginning are going to note in there they like phone calls, they prefer phone calls, or they prefer text messages.
Yeah.
So
or a video.
Video. Yes.
Hey, my name's Chandler. I'm headed to your house. Name, face, tone, energy. And you send that 10, 20-second video to that phone number. 98% of people have a phone, not a landline. And so they can receive or will receive that video. So you can call them, you can text them, or you can send them a video. But let them know you're on your way.
Right.
For sure.
So then they get to the home, they do the inspection. They are sending bomb videos to the customer or videos on their phone to the customer, showing them what they are seeing on the roof. Mm-hmm. So they're communicating that way immediately.
Also, another form of communication are the pictures.
Pictures,
so they'll take different videos of parts of the roof, problematic areas, and then they'll also take pictures. So you have video, you have pictures, right? Which is like, it's not a form of communication. You still, not how do you send the pictures, but pictures are also another form of communication.
Right.
Right? You send it however you want, but at the end of the day, pictures are worth 1,000 words.
They are.
Right? So you take pictures and videos up on the roof, and then they get down. By the way, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, it's all the same. So they take pictures and videos up on the roof, then they get down, then what happens?
Then they are writing the proposal, and sometimes it just depends on the customer.
Another form of communication.
Right.
They go to our CRM, they type it all up.
Right.
Here's the templates, here's the pricing, here's the warranties, here's the all that stuff. So sending that, and that goes via email. Right. So they write up so email, another form of communication. Okay. What else?
Then they're following up with a phone call or a text message to the customer to let them know that they have sent that proposal via email. So the customer knows to look out for it.
If they're home though, what do they do after they send the email? Because they're in their truck writing it all up.
Right.
And then what happens?
They'll either give them a phone call or they'll ask if they can come back in, sit down at the table so they can discuss the proposal.
So we talked about face-to-face, right? So there's
Face-to-face.
face-to-face communication, right? Okay, so face-to-face, 98% of deals, especially large ticket items, are not closed on the spot, 98% of them.
Right.
So your follow-up game has to be huge. So they leave. What happens right after they leave? Within 90 seconds, what does Grant teach as soon as we leave?
To text the customer right away to thank them. Thank them for allowing us to come out to their home.
Yeah, you either call them, text them, or send them a video. I personally like to send a video. Hey, Mrs. Smith, thank you so much for letting me come to your house and checking on your roof. Your dog, Sweet Pea, was so nice, and I love your backyard, and it's great. And go Suns, right? Or whatever.
Right.
Something to reconnect you and the homeowner other than the roof. And then you just reiterate to them, hey, as promised, I'll have the bid to you by 2 p.m., 5 p.m. tomorrow. I got to do some research, whatever the case may be. You reiterate that literally within 60 to 90 seconds of you leaving the home or the property or whatever,
Right.
you send that. Okay. Then what do they get? If it's a full roof, what do they get that night?
Cookies.
They get cookies.
They get cookies.
I don't know what kind of form of communication that is other than like sweet tooth communication.
Sweet tooth communication.
We're
I
gonna
like that.
We just created that.
Hashtag.
Sweet tooth communication.
Right.
So they get cookies that night, and then I'm Chandler or whoever, and I send the bid at 8:00 at night. What do I do?
I am going to not call the customer 8:00 at night, but I'm going to follow up the next morning.
Well, what can you do at 8:00 at night though?
Send him an email.
Send him an email.
Yeah.
You can send him a video, by the way.
Yeah.
Some people are like, oh, don't send it to him after hours. Doesn't mean they have to watch it.
Right.
Right. I'm just sending it to, maybe, you know what? Some people like that kind of stuff because, for example, like my wife is probably asleep or just chilling, and watching that video wouldn't bother me.
Right.
My kids are asleep. My employees are asleep. Right. My other customers are asleep. So guess what? Like that's go time.
Right.
Right. So, and guess what? If they don't want to answer, I don't answer my phone after 5 o'clock.
Right.
Cool. Not a problem. Guess what? When they wake up in the morning, they get a beautiful video of me telling them that I sent
Fresh
them
in their mind for
I
the
sent them
day.
the bid last night and it's in your inbox. What do they do the second they wake up and see that video? Boom. Before they do anything else,
Right.
most of the time they will go into the inbox and at least peek at it and see what it is.
Right.
Maybe it's the scope, maybe it's the price, maybe how soon we can
But
do
then
it.
we are on their mind all day.
Yeah, we're the first thing on their mind.
Yeah.
Right when they wake up.
So back in the early days when I was doing production scheduling and collections and that kind of thing.
back in the day.
The early days.
It's funny. She says back in the day, as in like 3 years ago. Not like back in 1994 when we were in business. We've been in business since August of 2019. But yeah, 3 years ago.
So back in the early days, I had to work late a lot to get things done.
Sure.
And it was amazing to me. I would email people at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night to let them know I was, reaching out to get them scheduled, offering them a date or sending their invoice for payment. And it was amazing how many people got back to me immediately because they're laying in bed on their phone or hanging out back with their family, and that pops up, and so they just want to handle it immediately.
Desperate Housewives of Gilbert, man. That's
maybe is that a thing?
It's not of Gilbert. We'll get there.
There should be.
There
really should be.
There's some bitches that qualify for that. That's for sure.
So that late night thing does work for sure.
So you can send the email. They can see it on their own. You can text it to them. Say, hey, I just sent you the bid. Check it out. I just sent you the proposal. I just sent you blah blah blah. Check it out. And then from there, you can also send a video of yourself. And people think that sending videos, you have to be in your work clothes. I mean, obviously, don't be without a bra in your bed. Obviously, don't make it awkward. But the principle is still the same. You want to make sure, it could be just your face, right? But you could do. We forgot audio. An audio message, right?
Recordings.
So on your iPhone, you can just do an audio message.
Those.
I do it all the time because I can rant, but you don't need to see like me driving or whatever, right? And so you can do that. So you're gonna email them the bid anyways. You can text it to them. You can text them that they got it. You're gonna email it to them. Send them a video. Hey, don't want to bother you tonight, but just want to let you know, as promised, I told you before I went to bed, I'm going to bed. The the proposals in your inbox. We'll be in touch tomorrow.
Right.
Guess what happens a lot of times? They'll see it, the video, they'll hop on there and check the email, and they're blowing you up for the next 10, 20 minutes, sometimes an hour. And this doesn't have to be like 10 o'clock at night. This could be at 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., whatever. Maybe your kids are asleep. Maybe your spouse is out of town. Maybe you're single and you have nothing else better to do, right? And so you can have those good, solid conversations after hours.
Right.
Or I tell people, hey, give me a call when you're on your way to work so we can chat. Because when people are at work, there's distractions because they're working. Right. That's
Absolutely.
why you can actually have better door-to-door guys. They don't start knocking until like 3 o'clock, like the moms get home from school and stuff. Because from 9 to 3, no one's home. This is stereotypically, right?
Right. Yeah.
Especially pre-COVID, nobody was home. And so that's another form of communication. And then you have the follow-up, right? And there's, we have 16 different ways of following up with our clients. So that being said, as we wrap this up, what would be your biggest takeaway for somebody that is, because with the Sexy Business Status Coaching and the podcast, the whole point of it is to help people that are doing $250,000, $300,000 a year to scale them to $2, $3, $5, $8, $10 million in revenue. What would be, via communication on this subject that we're talking about, what would be your biggest takeaway for somebody that is doing $500,000 or $1 million a year, might have 1 or 2 employees, 3 employees, they just got an assistant or they have one crew and they're looking to grow and scale? What would be your biggest advice and biggest takeaway for them in regarding communication and how important it is? Something like a takeaway.
It's really important to think about scaling with your communication. Don't think small, think big on communication. Think CRM, think way to track things, and not as 3 employees, but as 30 employees, because it's going to catch up with you quick.
So 10X, so instead of thinking you have 3 employees, act as if you had 30.
Right.
And how important that communication is.
Yes.
And pay attention. When I started State 48 Roofing, I brought Dory in. Heidi and I brought Dory, and we talked about it. And we had a 2-man crew that started. So actually I started the business from scratch with 3 employees. Right. Heidi and I. And the communication then is way different than it was now.
Right.
But we only lasted about 5 months. We did our first $1 million via QuickBooks and a Google Calendar and our phones.
Right.
And we realized, holy crap, we need to get a CRM implemented now.
Right.
And so within 6 months, probably January, February, March of 2020.
It was February.
Yeah, right around there. So, I mean, for us, what worked with us or what we did is it lasted about... we got up to about $1 million in revenue, and we got up to, 5 or 10 employees at most, in regarding the communication that we had.
Right.
But then we thought long term, hey, what is a CRM or what kind of communication can we have right now that can get us to not 1 million, but 10x it to 10 million?
Yeah.
And we have that same CRM that we started with $1 million to do 10.6.
We had to 10x it because we could have gone cheap on our CRM at that point in time, but we knew we were scaling.
Yes.
And to have to change systems in the middle of that would have been
100%
a huge undertaking. And also cell phones. Make sure you're all on the same cell phones. We have these.
Great point. Yeah.
We have iPhones, but we also have Androids, right? Is that what they're called? Androids.
Yeah.
They don't communicate well.
Yeah.
They don't communicate well. So you have to make sure that all your phones are on the same platform. Because if you do a group text with
group text
with iPhones and you throw one Android in there, it screws the whole thing up.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. So company policy is if you don't have a personal iPhone, you have to go get one if you want to keep your number. If not, we'll give you a company phone with a company number, but it will be an iPhone.
Right.
So we make you do that because those group texts, it doesn't throw those off or mess those up. FaceTime, you can't FaceTime. There's
Android.
apps and all that bull crap, but it's a nightmare.
Simplify
it. So making sure they're all on the same page. So we're all Macs and iPhones and that kind of stuff on purpose. So the synergy is the same. So, anyways,
all right.
That being said, guys, thanks for being on. Those that are live, appreciate you guys. We're actually going to have an event this year where Dory is going to be speaking. Heidi is going to be speaking, and we're going to show you guys the back end of how to build a business, not from the owner's perspective, but as a COO, and then also as the spouse or the partner of the business owner and the vital roles that they play. Cool? So you have been listening to the Sexy Business Status Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Payne. Dory Harrington, thank you. Love you.
Jason.
Appreciate you. You're a
Right
freaking
back
G.
at ya.
Okay? Be great.
I'm bringing sexy back.